You cannot convince me that this isn't weird. This is the Mandelbrot set. That is a real plant. That's a leaf. The Mandelbrot set is an infinite recurring pattern. We call it a fractal. Now, when you make that fractal 3D, it looks like this. What does that look like? That's a fractal cactus, a fractus. Barnsley fern, math, looks like the real life lady fern. Begonia rex, this is from India. It is a perfect reflection of the Fibonacci sequence. Just like this elephant's trunk, this iguana's tail, these seashells, and all the other organisms that reflect that fractal. These patterns are inside you. When an embryo gets fertilized, that's what happens. Then you start to grow these fractal organs and you feel them in your fractal nervous system, all controlled by your fractal brain reflecting the architecture of the universe, while your outsides reflect the fractal patterns of a tree. When energy discharges into matter, we see fractals at all scales. Your veins and neurons navigate your body like rivers navigate land. Then we use those neurons to build roads that look like rivers. We mimic this in architecture and art because that is what we are. That is a 3D Mandelbrot set. That is reality. That is crown shyness. That's the Sierpinski fractal. If you just let the fractal go, it'll randomly generate shapes sometimes that took humans decades to create. Let's remove the matter from the equation. What do you get? The patterns of energy. Water on a speaker. Math equations used to synthesize or combine sound waves into one sound. At its simplest level, you can draw fractal patterns just using circles. It's how you evolve. It's how your cells divide. It's beautiful, it's elegant, it's how you evolve. Understanding it will give you an entirely new perspective on the world. Energy moves in a pattern. Light bends around those patterns to create shapes. The shapes connect in 3D and we experience them in 4D. Fractals navigate the chaos and you experience it. This video is just a couple pages out of the fractal section in Geometrics. This book is really special to me because this information is what changed my life and allowed me to understand the world so much better. It is the sequel to my first book, Codex, and it is a fusion of science, spiritual traditions, and ancient history. You will be Fibonacci'd.
Fractal growth could be generated from 8 star tetrahedron. So 1 star tetrahedron is 8 tetrahedrons coming together to make an octahedron in the middle. 8 star tetrahedron, 8 stars like that coming together to create the vector equilibrium. The star tetrahedron is 8 tetrahedron pointing out, and the vector equilibrium is 8 pointing in. Both sides of the event horizon, the radiative side and the contractive side, all in one mathematical metric that was producing both to generate the feedback of creation. 8 star tetrahedrons coming together to create the vector equilibrium in the middle, just like this. And when the whole thing was put together, it would generate a vector equilibrium in the middle, and then it would generate the next fractal vector equilibrium on the outside.
The idea of fractals is that there's something that can be represented infinitely on a small scale or a large scale. You can make a square and put any amount of squares inside of that and put any amount of squares inside of that infinitely. Especially the Mandelbrot set, the actual equations for that fractal, they show the pattern of the growth of branches and root systems and the human circulatory system. They're basically simple formulas mapped onto complex planes, infinitely larger or infinitely smaller.
Why do fractals occur both in math and in the physical world? I mean, you have this shape, that's a multibrot, that exists only in the conceptual world of mathematics. We can plot it, but you could never touch that thing because it's not physical. But that one is, and they look remarkably similar. This particular shape here is part of the Mandelbrot set, looks like a bolt of lightning. But it's not made of atoms. This one is. This particular shape, it's a double spiral. You can't see that in a telescope because it's not made of atoms, but that one you can see in a small telescope. How is it that math, which is conceptual, you find these shapes, and then in nature, which is physical, you find the same kinds of shapes? And a skeptic might say this, he's, well, the physical universe obeys mathematical laws. So it stands to reason if something can occur in math, it can occur in the physical world because the physical world obeys math. Okay, I'll grant that. But then I'm going to have to ask, why does the physical universe obey mathematical laws? And that is a stumper.
Is the idea that when you're in a higher dimension, you can see below lower dimensions, but you can't see dimensions above you?
Exactly, unless you have the capability of matching frequency to be able to walk in.
Match the frequency.
Yeah, so for example, my hand is stopped now by this table. Why is it stopped? I'm not really touching the table. There's repulsion going on. Electromagnetic repulsion between the electrons in my hand is repelling the electrons in the table. You don't really touch anything. Now, if I can match the subatomic frequency of the atoms here on this table with my hand, I'd be able to pass my hand right through this table unscathed. Why? Because atoms are 99.999% empty space. Nothing is really here. Everything is only a light wave slowed down to a particular frequency. So if you can match frequencies, you can merge with things. You can walk through walls, all that kind of stuff. The things that seem paranormal could be advanced beings have tapped into some type of understanding of how to match different frequencies in our dimension and appear apparitional or paranormal, but in true reality, they could just be taking a peek in.
It is now a scientific fact that the space between things is anything but empty. It is full of a living, pulsating essence that is so new, scientists have yet to agree on a single term. Some are calling it a quantum hologram, very technical sounding name. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the former Apollo astronaut, I've had the honor of sharing a stage with him a number of times. He calls it nature's mind. Stephen Hawking calls it the mind of God. Others simply call it the field. In 1944, the father of quantum physics, Max Planck, identified the existence of this field, and he called it the matrix. He said, underlying everything that we see, our bodies included, there is the existence of what must be a conscious and intelligent mind.